Would you rather be a Bengal fan or a Jaguar fan today?
Bengal fan because I know it's going to work out. I mean, Joe Burrow played fine. Like I know people are going to make this about Burrow and the wrist and maybe even his frosted tips there. But I think Joe has played better week to week, right? Like, and he's knocked the rust off. Joe Burrow is going to be Joe Burrow. We saw, I think, a very real version of Jamar Chase last night. He looked great too. Higgins is going to get more comfortable, so they're going to score points. My concern with the Bengals is on defense. And can the defense get up to a level that they don't need to be top of the league, but can they be a top 10 or 15 defense, which is what they've been under Lou Anarumo the last few years. And I think a lot of that's going to be come down to being able to generate a pass rush and getting Trey Hendrickson back to his level and figuring out the corner position. I mean, the guy who was in coverage on that McLaurin touchdown was Dax Hill, who's really a safety playing corner. So, like that, I think there are some real concerns. But in the end, like I think because of the offense, because of Joe Burrow, Chase, Higgins, I think they're going to be there in the end. The Jaguars feel to me like I mean, I don't know. I like their core players are good, not great. And I think that that's sometimes in the NFL where you can get yourself in trouble, where like the highest paid players on your team or the highest drafted players on your team are just pretty good and not great. And I'm talking about like Christian Kirk and Tyson Campbell and Cam Robinson. Like they're good players, but are those like the core pieces of a champion? And those three guys I mentioned are all very highly paid, right? So it just feels to me like a team that doesn't have like this real strength to hang its hat on. And it needs Trevor Lawrence to be a superstar, and he just isn't one right now. So I it feels to me a little bit like a franchise that may be in for another reset. And I think they've got three very big weeks coming up here. I believe their next 3 weeks, they've got two division games, right? I think they play the Bears, but then they also play the Colts and the Texans. The Texans are this week. The Texans coming off of that loss. And then they go to London and play the Patriots. And that's obviously like a big game for ownership going over there. So if you have a winless team going over there, like these billionaires don't like being embarrassed. So I just, it feels like there's a lot in the line for a lot of people in that organization over the next few weeks.
So, coach is in trouble, flirting with
Maybe,
trouble.
yeah, yeah, maybe.
So,
And I like, they're just a sneaky one with Belichick for me. I like Tony Khan has a really strong relationship with Bill Belichick, Shad's son, Tony. Um, to the point where, so when they hired Doug Marone, as like the full time when they removed the interim tag, what was that, 17, I think 2017, right? That was largely on the advice of Bill Belichick to do it. So Bill's had the ear of ownership in
mm,
that place for a while now. And I just wonder if that's not rattling around in the heads of ownership there now, especially when you're building a new stadium, and not a new stadium, but you're renovating your stadium. And now, you've got like sponsorship to sell, you've got suites to sell, like all of that stuff, right? Do you need some more credibility? It's just there are some things that line up there where I wouldn't totally rule out that as a viable possibility for Belichick in 2025. And he does have a place, I think, right down the street. I guess right down I-95 there in South Florida too. So that wouldn't hurt either.